Mr Speaker.
Jane Logie.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. I rise to take a call on this, the Employment Standards Legislation Bill, on its second reading. As stated previously by my colleague Denise Roche, we are unable to support this bill at this stage because the bill that is in front of us, that has come out of Select Committee, does not do what we were told it was going to do. I do understand that negotiations are happening at the moment behind closed doors, and there's the possibility that something will come to the Committee of the Whole House. It is disappointing that the Minister and the Government were not able to hear the submissions made by the 10,000 submitters and to see the reason at that point of the process to be able to return a bill to this House based on that evidence, and that there has to be a process behind closed doors, which means we cannot support this bill at this stage. This is at the heart of our opposition, is about the fact that the Minister, when this bill was introduced, told us that this bill would prohibit zero-hour contracts. When in actual fact, what it does is etch zero-hour contracts into our legal and social landscape. There is, at the moment, question over the legality of zero-hour contracts, and this bill will establish them as valid in our laws. Currently, as well, I do want to point out that in the context of this, that the government is actually a really large part of the zero hours problem, because they allow those non-jobs to be listed through work and income, and they haven't ruled out cutting somebody's benefit if they refuse to take a 0 hours contract. And when welfare legislation was going through this House last year, and submitters raised concerns about sole parents with young children being forced into these insecure 0 hour jobs, the government said, and the advice back was that, well, we're not going to rule those jobs out and say that they're unsuitable in this legislation, because that's going to be dealt with through today's piece of legislation. And then what comes back to the House is something that actually enshrines that. So that has a cascade effect right throughout the system. And these contracts are a disaster for most people. They mean people go from week to week not knowing how much will be in their paycheck. And if you imagine trying to budget, to pay your rent, to be able to put food on the table, to make sure your kids have got what they need to get to school and be at school, and not know how much money you've got coming in, I think you can get the understanding about why so many people are passionate about this issue and want to make sure that our law clearly prohibits these 0 hour contracts as promised by the Minister when it was introduced. And this is particularly bad for sole parents and people with mental health issues who are trying to get back into work. So when the government is saying that their main response to poverty in this country is to get people off welfare and into work, this kind of legislation becomes critically important, because actually their welfare and the meaning of work hinges on the quality of the work. Work does not provide benefit if it's that insecure. It actually causes harm. And it was interesting, I got to sit in on some of the submissions on this bill and heard from some security guards who are currently working outside work and income offices, contracted by Armourguard, to hear that their hours are deeply casualised to the point that they may only get 3 hours of work one week and then potentially be working full-time another week. And their employer, Armourguard, is on record as saying, well, that was due to the unpredictable nature of the workflows. Work and income officers are open for set hours. There is nothing unpredictable about that. But that is the balance of power in our employment situation at the moment. And it's workers and families that are paying the real cost of this. And we need legislation that makes it absolutely clear that is unacceptable. At the moment, this legislation will require those workers to take a case to court. That's not good enough, and we can't support it at the moment.
Mr. Speaker.